Hello, everyone. Wow, what a great piece of music. And that music reminds me so much of our guest tonight. That is a tune medley called Get Thee to the Sconery perfect for the Historical Tea and Dance Society. And Jug Juice. The composer is Tom Cunningham. The band is Hot Coffee Breakdown. Musicians Tom Cunningham, Kate Saunders, and Luis De Leon. The CD is Back Porch Cafe. It is a great one if you don't have it. And where to buy? It's available on Bandcamp. I am Darlene Hamilton, and we are the Historical Tea and Dance Society. I'm going to take a moment tonight to tell you that this is our 2nd year anniversary show. 77 5 things inside the dancing mind of web shows, including this one. And it continues to be a joy to get to know our dance community that we love so well. Thank you all for being either guests and or participants, and for all the kindness, appreciation, the help you've given, and friendship you shared with us. We would not be the same without all of your support and you all making this show what it is. We would also not be the same without my fabulous dream team. And I'm going to introduce them now, every single one of them. Lindsay Verbal, assisting with the program, handling media and our attendee questions. Reed Wilson, monitoring Zoom for questions and posting. Larry Hansen, monitoring Facebook Live chat for questions and posting. Kara King, who writes our guest introductions. And Dan Vilter, who is our understudy. Each week he is there understudying for both Lindsay and myself. This is my dream team, and I would not have, it makes me feel like crying. I would not have wanted to do this with any other people. They are the best, and I surely do love them, and they make the show a pleasure. So thank you all. I wanted to take that moment and introduce everybody that works behind the scenes and on the screen. All right. We invite you to post questions in the chat boxes on both platforms, in Zoom and Facebook. You all know where those are by now, I know, and we will get to them in the after talk. If you have not already gotten the link for the after talk, it will be posted towards the end of this show several times, so you will be able to get it. And you are definitely going to want to come to the after talk tonight because it's going to be good. It's a great time to ask those questions and find out what else didn't get said in the show itself, because we only have 5 things. Sometimes there could be a whole bunch more. All right, I'm going to jump into a bio about our guest. Deborah Denenfeld discovered international folk dancing in her early teens and soon came to love English country dance, contra, Argentine tango, Irish set dance, and bal folk, plus couples dances like waltz, swing, and Scandinavian dance. She now considers community and family dance her true home, and she's a popular caller at contra dances and a dance leader for weddings, events, and parties. For 30 years, Deborah taught dance in schools throughout Kentucky and several other states, and conducted original research on a form of Kentucky community dance from the earliest 20th century called play party dances or games. Deborah is the founder and executive director of Dancing Well the Soldier Project, which brings community dance experiences to veterans and ex-military coping with post-traumatic stress disorder or brain injury. Their families and loved ones who are indirectly affected are also served. We're going to hear a lot more about that tonight. When the pandemic came, Dancing Well, the Soldiers Project programming needed to pivot. So Deborah started providing weekly dance parties on Facebook Live, open to all. To date, 89 parties have been held and are now available in video format. Please welcome our guest, Deborah Denenfeld. We're so happy to have you on board.
Hi, everybody. It's really great to be here. It's a dream come true, actually. It's an honor. I'm a real avid fan of 5 Things, and I learn something new every time I watch. Tonight, I hope everyone out there will take away something that you can use in your own community. Maybe something about ways to become more inclusive.
All right, let's go ahead with thing 1, early influences.
I'm going to start with my mother, and actually her parents. Her parents were highly assimilated and cultured Jewish people living in Austria. Her father was in the Austrian armed forces in World War I, and he was very patriotic to Austria and never could imagine that anything would happen to his family. Her parents loved the opera, the symphony, the ballet, and my mother attended those as a child. And as a young teen, she and her friends would go to those events and stand in the back, just trying to soak in all the culture. Her father died in 1934 of natural causes. In 1938, when my mother was 12, the Nazis took over the Austrian government. The people welcomed them. She lived under growing anti-Semitism and harassment. They took away the family business. On November 9th, 1938, she experienced Kristallnacht, and there were increasing strict restrictions after that. She couldn't go to school, she couldn't go to the parks, she couldn't ride public transportation. In 1939, at age 14, my mother escaped on a train load of children known as the Kindertransport. Most of them went to England, but her train went to Belgium. This is my mother's official exit photo when she was 14. As soon as she got on the train, her mother and sister left for England, where they had arranged jobs as live-in cook and housekeeper. Eventually, they were able to save enough money to bring her to England and then to the United States. My father was from Detroit, and he met my mom, who ended up in Detroit, and they met each other in college and married just before he shipped out to serve in the Army Air Corps in World War II. I was born in Detroit in a family that had Jewish values. We believed in tikkun olam, which means through your own personal actions, you can heal the world. My mom became an activist for the downtrodden and for peace. She was in the civil rights movement. She was in Washington to hear the I Have a Dream speech. When I was about 10 years old, my mom said to me, "Would you like to go hear Martin Luther King? He's going to be speaking in Detroit." And I said, "Oh, yes, I really, really want to go." And so she took me, we went to a church downtown. And I remember walking in, it was a huge room filled with people. And there were a smattering of white faces, but not very many. But the people were so welcoming and just really kind and showed us to a place where there was room in a pew and everyone was very nice. And I sat there listening to the warm-up speeches and was just enthralled. And they said, "We're going to take up a collection tonight. So this money is going to go toward all of the civil rights work that we're doing down in the South, trying to help people to get registered to vote." And I turned to my mom and I said, "I have to have some money. Give me some money." Well, my family was really, really poor, and they didn't have anything extra. And my mom was like, "I can't. We don't have." I said, "I have to, Mom. You have to." So she dug around the bottom of her purse and she found a dime and a penny. And she gave it to me and she said, "This is all you can have." But that was great. And they passed around this collection plate and I put my dime and my penny in there. And then they went on with all the speeches and it was time to introduce Martin Luther King. And they came out and said, "We're so sorry. Martin Luther King Jr. was unable to be here tonight, but he sent his father, Martin Luther King Sr. So he came out and gave us a very rousing and wonderful speech. And when he finished, they got up there and announced, "We're so grateful for all the support that you've given us. Just tonight, we have raised $4,325.11. And I learned at that moment that I can make a difference. It might be a little difference, but I can make a difference. At age 13 in 1966, I went to an alternative boarding school where they had folk dances instead of rock and roll dances. So mostly we were doing international folk dancing, which was the thing back in the 60s. That's what everybody did. At age 16, I went to another school that had international dance and community dances. I knew some of the dances that the dance leaders didn't, so I taught them. And that was my first teaching of dance.
Wow. That's amazing. Okay, everybody, I hope you have your Kleenex. I know I'm going to need them tonight. All right. Thing number 2. Let's dance.
I have always been a dancer. What can I say? I danced around the living room to Viennese waltzes. I remember dancing with my feet on my daddy's feet when I was young. My first contra was in 1987 at a reunion of the school where I had first done the international dancing in Silo, North Carolina. And when I experienced contra dance, I said, "Where have you been all my life?" I just loved it. So after that, I found that it was back in Detroit, and started dancing at Henry Ford's Lovett Hall under the direction of Glenn Morningstar. In 1989 and 90, I lived in Hawaii, and I did contra dancing, ballroom dancing, and clogging. In 1990, I had the summer of my dreams. I knew I was going to move back to the mainland, but I didn't know where I was going to settle. And I planned 3 dance weeks. I had, mind you, I had never been to a dance weekend. So in that one summer, first I went to Kentucky Summer Dance School, which doesn't exist anymore. And then I went to the first Country Dance and Song Society Dance Week at Buffalo Gap. It was an English and American week. And I had never done any English dancing. And I said, "Well, how hard can English be?" That's pretty funny, because here I am in 2022, still trying to get good at English dancing. But once I started going to the workshops and things, I said, "I don't understand. How is it that I already know how to set and turn single?" And it was because one of those early international dances that I had learned was an English country dance. It was Dargison. At that week at Buffalo Gap, there was amazing staff. I guess CDSS wanted to attract people to the new location. We had music by Bare Necessities and Wild Asparagus. And we had some pretty great dance leaders too. Everybody remember Ted Sanella? He was there. And there was a performance at the end of the week, and there I am dancing in that performance. And I can't believe the lean in that picture because I can't do that lean today. I don't know how I managed it back then. One of the great things about that week was there were no traditions. So the New Yorkers said, let's have a New York party. And they built a subway and got us spray paint so that we could paint our own graffiti on a subway. And people got dressed up for this New York party. And they flew in bagels and cream cheese. And there was a guy there named Emlyn who decided, well, what's New York without a flasher? And there were some pretty wonderful people attending that New York party. Maybe you will recognize at least one of those people, Helene Cornelius. After that week was over, I went to Dance Week at Augusta Heritage Center, and I got to learn some dance things from Kathy Anderson, who was one of my early role models. Following that summer, I moved to Kentucky. In 1991, I attended the Teachers Play Shop, which was a one-time only event that was for teachers or people that were aspiring teachers of traditional dance and music. And the staff was Peter and Mary Alice Amadon and Andy Davis. And they gave me the courage to teach. In 1993, I joined the Kentucky Arts Council roster of dance artisan schools, and I have conducted residencies ever since then. I've been able to really touch thousands and thousands of kids with a lot of different kinds of dance, but they always end up loving it. And we understand that because we love it too. For 10 years, I trained troops of young people to attend the Mountain Folk Festival. That's a festival that's specifically for kids grades 4 through 12, and it's held in Berea at Berea College every year. And that was really a lot of fun to get to take kids to meet groups from all over that also loved this kind of dance. Until about 2000, I mostly was dancing contras and squares. I went to several weeks at Buffalo Gap and Pine Woods, and I went to a lot of weekends where I got to dance to many fabulous dance leaders, and they became my role models. One dance weekend that I attended was in Ann Arbor. They had an Ann Arbor Dawn Dance weekend. And my dad lived nearby, and I convinced him and my stepmother that they should come and watch because I wanted him to see what was this thing that I did that I loved so much. Well, they came and they watched me in the English room. And then when I went to the gym where the contra was, they moved over there and they watched me do that. And then my dad said, okay, I'm pretty tired. I think we're going to leave now. And I said, it means so much to me. Thank you for coming. I wanted you to see this is what I do. And my dad said, oh, I do that. And I said, you did what? And he said that. And he pointed down to the contra floor. And I said, you used to contra dance? And he said, well, we didn't call it that. I said, when did you do that? And he said, well, when I was in junior college, Henry Ford sent these dance teachers out to get young people to do American dance. And I took this course from this guy, And when the course was over, I stopped going. Some of my friends kept going. You know, I wish I had kept going, because if I had, I'd probably be able to be down there dancing right now. And that was the truth, because he was not in good shape by that point. So then I thought, well, no wonder I loved it. I have it in my genes. About 2000, I went to English Week for the first time, and I really was intimidated about going, but there was a workshop that I really wanted to take. But while I was there, I saw amazing, beautiful dancing by experienced English dancers. And I said, I want to dance like that. Well, in order to do that, I really needed to go to camps, and I couldn't afford to go to camps. So I was able to get many scholarships and work positions just to be able to be there. Many of you had a camp chore under my direction in the dining hall at Pinewoods. And here I am, ringing that dining hall bell at Pinewoods. I do belong to a local English country dance community in Louisville. And here are some of the local people when we went to a ball. I have family who lives in Ann Arbor and Amherst, Massachusetts. So I got to dance in those communities quite a bit and feel very close to those communities as well. Other camps and weekends that I frequent, Christmas Country Dance School in Berea. I'm there pretty much every year now. I belong to Pour Parler, which is a group for teachers of traditional dance and music, and I highly recommend it to anyone who's interested in coming. The next one's going to be this fall in Vermont. And New London Assembly, which I really love the dancing there. I've done a lot of traveling to dance, and I've gotten to dance with some great people. I'm the one in the green. My partner is Joanna Reiner, and up on the stage is Bare Necessities. I'm a regional contra dance caller, and I do lead community dancing for weddings and events. I did get an Appalachian Music Fellowship from Berea College, and my research focused on play party games of Western Kentucky, which is very unusual. Most people think of play party games from Eastern Kentucky, from Appalachia, but there was a whole different scene going on in the West, which I did some research on. For fun, I like to dance. I also hike and do outdoor stuff, but I like to do couple dancing, square dancing, Scandinavian, swing, and I was pretty big into Argentine tango before the pandemic. During the pandemic, I got hooked on online English country dancing. English country is a type that really works for dancing online. So I used it in two ways. Most dances that I attend, I work on perfecting my timing, my posture, and imagining where other dancers in the set will be. But in select places where they approve, I have a group of friends and we pin each other and we play. We play with puns and props, and there's a lot of laughter, and we really can feel seen by the person on the other side of the screen. Right now, I really want to extend a big thank you to all the dance organizers and callers who have gotten us through this pandemic. I know it really helped me.
What a story. This is a wonderful show. I told you all would be. All right, thing number 3. Birthing Dancing Well, the Soldiers Project.
It's 2010 at Fort Knox. The soldier froze in the doorway. I could see something was wrong. The color was draining out of his face. His eyes were darting all around the room. He started to shake. I couldn't understand it. He'd come and danced with us before. I said, "Is something wrong? Are you going to be okay?" And he hesitated and he said, "I think I'm going to be okay. There's only this one door, but I can pick up one of those chairs and throw it through the window if I have to get out." That was my first close-up exposure to someone experiencing a PTSD flashback. What is PTSD? It's post-traumatic stress disorder. It's an overstimulated fight or flight response. It's re-experiencing the trauma with memories, nightmares, flashbacks. It's avoidance of places and situations, including being in a crowd, just to make sure that you're not going to have to re-experience those feelings, which means it's isolating. It's feeling anxious, irritable, angry, and depressed. People with PTSD usually have increased substance abuse, spouse abuse, and suicide. Statistics for PTSD vary by sources, but about 15% of the Vietnam War veterans had it at that time, but now 30% of them have had PTSD in their lifetime. Today, 1 in 3 veterans treated by the VA suffers from PTSD. Military sexual trauma is extremely prevalent. 1 in 3 military or veteran women suffer from military sexual trauma. PTSD is often associated with traumatic brain injury. What is a brain injury? It's a head injury from many causes, but it's considered the signature injury in the military now because of explosive devices. It affects people's memories, their emotions, and leads to an increased risk of Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. More than 430,000 military or veterans reported having a traumatic brain injury just between 2000 and 2019. There's a ripple effect on the spouses and children and parents and friends of people who have PTSD and or a brain injury. In 2010, Dr. Edwin Walker, a psychiatrist at Fort Knox, approached me as a contra dance caller to see if I would lead a couple of evenings of contra dance for his patients. His patients had been brought back to Fort Knox to be evaluated for patching up and being sent back out to the front or being discharged as disabled. Well, Dr. Walker had heard about people's memories being improved by playing the guitar. And he wondered if the repetitive aspect of contra dancing might help his patients' memories. So I was interested in working with him, but when I started learning more about PTSD and brain injury, and I started talking to some more experienced callers than me, I realized that contra dance was really not appropriate. And so he permitted me to modify the kinds of dancing that I led. And we ended up holding 10 sessions of dance, of very simple family dances. We used live music. We had smiling volunteers, and we encouraged them to bring their spouses. Some families brought their teenage kids, and we provided free childcare for the younger kids. At the beginning, I provided some red ribbons for the military people who were affected by PTSD or had some kind of a mental memory issue. And I offered them these red ribbons on their right wrist as a memory aid, so that if I said Alamand right, they'd be able to look down and see which hand to use. Well, very soon, everybody who was there said, give me one of those. I want one too. And these red ribbons became sort of our team uniform. And they really unified us as a group. Even the instruments got their red ribbons tied onto them. But one time we came into a dance and a couple of the teenage boys were already wearing their red ribbon from the last dance. And I said, what are you doing with that already on your wrist? And they said, are you kidding me? I never take this off. I'm so proud of this. I'm so proud of the fact that we are doing this to help each other. So Dancing Well uses those red ribbons at every one of our events, and everyone who dances gets one. At the end of that series of 10 sessions, we asked participants to evaluate how it had gone for them. They reported amazing things: reduced anxiety, reduced depression, improved outlook on the future, improved relationships with loved ones, and 90% reported improved memory and mood, and an amazing 50% a reduction in physical pain levels. Wow, I couldn't believe it. But I also couldn't continue, because just a couple of days later, Dr. Walker left his employment at Fort Knox. And I thought, well, that's the end of that. But a couple of years later, in 2012, I just couldn't let go of it and decided that I would try it again, but this time on the veteran side. I started with a vision of dance for all. I wanted absolutely no barriers to entry. I wanted to allow in ex-military. Now, ex-military is different than veteran. In order to use the term of veteran, you have to have an honorable discharge. Ex-military are people who served but were not honorably discharged. Many of those people were not honorably discharged because of behaviors that today we would recognize as associated with PTSD. They didn't know it back then. So I welcome ex-military as well. Our dances are free. We provide free childcare and sometimes even transportation. We came up with a logo for Dancing Well, the Soldier Project, which I really like. because I feel like it shows the community aspect. It shows our closeness to each other. It looks like a dance, but it's also showing so much diversity. And that is a really important value to me about Dancing Well, the Soldier Project. For the first 5 years, the Country Dance and Song Society was our fiscal sponsor. We are very grateful for that support. I don't think we could have existed if we hadn't had their help. In 2014, we had raised enough money and held our first dances, and we have been holding dances ever since. To my knowledge, this program is unique in the world. There are so many people that have made this possible that I want to thank right now. No, I can't. If I did, I would talk the whole time telling names and I would still forget some of them. I want to thank all of you who made donations, some small, some very large, who donated time, who donated expertise, connections, who donated tunes for fundraisers, dances written for fundraisers. Thank you. This program is yours.
Wow. Thing number 4. Whoops. Dancing Well programs.
In this section, we are going to feature a number of video clips. It's just easier to show you our programs than to have me talk about them. The full videos can be viewed on our website.
Dancing Well is very dear to my heart. It is a time of letting my little child come out and play. And that's exactly what happened the first time I went there.
When I came back from the Gulf War, there were some issues that I had to go through. I suffered from PTSD. I even contemplated suicide at one time.
Actually, Dancing Well came across my pathway when I was struggling with PTSD because of military sexual trauma. And I thought, I don't trust people. And she convinced me that it would be challenging, it will be opening me up to more, and she was absolutely 100% right.
So we're going to be focusing first on our pre-pandemic programs.
Dancing Well is a group of individuals that gather together once a week to dance with veterans that have traumatic brain injuries, small disabilities, and also PTSD.
Dancing Well's mission is to uplift veterans who are suffering from PTSD or brain injury, and to also include and uplift their spouses, children, and other significant others in their life who are indirectly affected every single day. So we have this really unique community, and I'm going to use a term that's new to me, but I love it. It's the term called DIFF abilities, D-I-F-F, because we all have different abilities. And at Dancing Well, many of our participants also have varied physical abilities. We have all races, ages, branches of the military. We have all gender identities. We have various political persuasions, and we are all gathered in one community, peacefully socializing, respecting each other. I don't know of a lot of other places that are successfully doing that.
You'll see husbands with their wives, with their children, They'll bring a friend. You'll see people like me that come alone. Not everybody knows who's the veteran in the crowd and who's the loved one in the crowd. In the end, that really doesn't matter. We're there to support each other, dance, have fun, and be a community.
We still have our dances in series of 10. We try to always have the same musicians and mostly the same volunteers. We modify the physical space. Not only does it need to be accessible, some of our people come with a cane or occasionally a walker, but also we modify the lighting, and that is for the comfort of people who have brain injuries. We modify the sound. We have something called a comfort zone, and that's a place for someone to go if they're feeling overwhelmed. It's very close to the dance floor, but it's a rocking chair, and there's a little stuffed animal, and there's a rug, and there's a lamp, and it's just a place where somebody can go and sit down. If they do, a volunteer is probably going to come over and check with them. Would you like some company? Because there's another chair there, and the volunteer can just sit there with them, keep them company until they feel better and feel like rejoining the dance. The 10th of our 10 series is always a graduation. At graduation, we have a whole catered dinner, and we have a ceremony, and we recognize every individual for their courage and commitment.
The Dancing Well program is not therapy. I am not a therapist. This is a recreational and social activity that helps people to feel connected to others. We look at ourselves as an adjunct to their therapy and their healing process.
I continue to get more and more training on PTSD and brain injury. I feel that anyone who is going to try to lead dances with this population needs to be as ready as possible for things that may come up. You will never think of everything. You will never be ready, but you will be more ready the more you know, and able to, in the moment, make the right decision about what to do.
The dance moves themselves are modified for the lowest functioning person on the floor. So as the dance leader, I am watching carefully to see how is everybody doing. The goal is that at the end of every dance, every person will feel that they succeeded. We provide this very caring and safe community where people feel that they belong.
I think there's another video, Lindsay.
And I'll tell you, when I walk away from the hour and a half being there, I am so elated because I let out energy that I didn't know how else to do it. It's just a real time of connection with other vets who are trying to come out of themselves because of something that happened to them.
Besides our dance series, we sometimes take outings, and they're really just a time to socialize together. And occasionally we get to recognize our individual veterans. We had one in our community who is a stained glass artist, and she had a piece that made it into a statewide exhibit. So we took a field trip and went over to Lexington, Kentucky to see her piece in the show. And that was just really a lovely outing for all of us, but especially for her. I also stay in contact with the veterans through phone calls. they really need to have reminders before the dances because they might not remember that it's that day coming up and they need to come. But the phone calls also often an opportunity for us to have a little private chat. And we can't really have that at the dances. And that's nice. And it's important to them, they've told me. We do outreach. So we participate in a lot of events that are sponsored by the VA. Sometimes we bring a group and we might be leading some dancing and try to get people from the general audience to join us in dances. Sometimes we just have a table with literature and we talk to people, but we try to have a presence at wellness fairs, suicide prevention fairs, and military stand-down gatherings. I've had a great opportunity to present a detailed training to the staff of our local VA's PTSD clinics. And I got to talk, they got to ask me questions, and I said, you don't think you're going to get off the hook that easily. And I made them get up and dance. And of course, even the ones who said, oh, I'm not going to dance. And I said, okay, you don't have to, you can watch. Well, after they saw one dance, they said, well, I can do that. And I said, of course you can. Why don't you join us? Everyone ended up dancing. And at the end, they all were so impressed and said, I'm going to tell my clients they should come and do this. In 2017, we conducted a scientific study to see if we could prove that this was really helping. It was considered a pilot because of the small sample size.
In the 6 years Denenfeld has run the Dancing Well, the Soldier Project, she had vets telling her it was helping them, but no concrete evidence. Now she does. A pilot study by researchers at the University of Louisville and Western Connecticut State University.
And what we found is that people who participated in the dancing 1 hour a week for 10 weeks had an improvement in their overall wellness score. It has to do with feelings of optimism, feelings of hope, not letting yourself get isolated. That's one of the biggest issues with PTSD is isolating at home where there are fewer triggers. You're less likely to encounter something that will bring back harmful memories.
And the study has been a way for us to quantify the fact that it really is helping people.
One time at the end of a series, we stood in a circle and everyone said, what does this mean to them? And I'm like, oh, well, this is fun. There were some vets that said, this saved my life. There were some vets that said, I just can't even say what this means to me, and almost started to cry.
So yeah, more than one has told me that this program has saved their life and is keeping them alive. I'm not going to tell you those stories because I feel like they're private, but here's a vet who wanted to tell you her story.
Hi, I'm Deanna Lundergan-Deneen. I was in the United States Air Force for almost 10 years. As an enlisted person, I was an imagery interpreter specialist, which means I looked at spy photos. And as an officer, I was a nuclear missile officer, which meant I spent 24 hours at a time, 60 feet below South Dakota, with my finger on the keys, waiting to launch 10 Minuteman II intercontinental ballistic missiles aimed at the heart of the Soviet Union. Now, I stood between you and Armageddon. Literally. If I had launched my missiles, everybody else would have been launching their missiles. There wouldn't be an Earth as we know it. I lucked into Dancing Well by accident when I was searching for ways to heal myself. I'm 100% disabled through VA for PTSD caused by MST, which is military sexual trauma. During that time, I was going to therapy 5 and 6 times a week. And I got lucky. I saw one of the flyers for Dancing Well, and I called and started going to Dancing Well. And Dancing Well became my dance therapy. And it was one of the ways that saved my soul. I love dancing with Dancing Well.
In the pandemic, we had to pivot. We could no longer hold our dances in person. And this was an even bigger problem for our population because they started out with a tendency to isolate. And here the world was telling them, you better isolate. So I knew that we had to find some way to reach them. And I started holding these weekly dance parties on Facebook Live. They're simple folk dances. I have occasionally used an English country dance that was highly modified. And sometimes I lead dances that are seated because a lot of people like to watch, but they don't want to get up or they can't get up. They can't really be mobile. So I give them dances that we can do with our upper bodies. I got involved with a daily antidote of song myself during the pandemic and found out how healing it felt to sing out loud. So after that, I added a song break to every one of our dance parties. And once a month, I bring in a guest song leader. I've had some amazing song leaders on my program, Grammy winners, luminaries of traditional song. And this is one of the ways that we've tried to show diversity is through the kinds of people we invite to come onto the show. We also hold monthly gatherings on Zoom where we can actually see each other in the boxes. And at those gatherings, again, I lead dance. We have our same 2 musicians and they play for us live. And people can also chat with each other a little bit. I make very regular phone calls and stay in touch with our veterans and loved ones. And those have become very, very helpful to them. I think in staying connected, not only with Dancing Well, but always feeling like there was somebody out there that cares. Now that the numbers of COVID are going down, I've started having in-person visits with people, and that has been just especially sweet.
Every time I talk to one of our participants or every time we dance, I can see that we're making a difference in lives.
I love the volunteers. I love Deborah. I love the whole program. And I would love for people to come and donate.
Elman right! Elman left! Left shoulder nosy-no, that's a seesaw! Horse race!
Thing number 5, the future.
So Dancing Well has been using this time to really work on our diversity and inclusion. We got a grant from the Kentucky Arts Council to work with a consultant on this, and we'll be starting that work with them very soon. We're working on expanding our board and our recruitment of veterans, loved ones, and volunteers to be more diverse. I'm exploring trying to build collaborations and partnerships with dance leaders of other cultures, because I think it would be really great if Dancing Well's community looked like what the veteran community looks like. It doesn't right now. It's a little bit too white. We are looking at getting a new venue, which is really important because before the pandemic hit, we were in talks with the local VA about them bringing van loads of veterans to our dances if only there was no alcohol in the building. So now that we have a chance to get in on a good hall that doesn't have alcohol, we're trying to finalize that, and hopefully we'll be able to finalize that relationship with the VA. I have a vision of Dancing Well going beyond what I can do. The future belongs to everyone. We need to make this sustainable. We need to be making a difference further and longer than I personally can do. So for a really long time, I've had this vision of a training program for facilitators. I started developing it many, many years ago, and I made quite a bit of progress on it during the pandemic. Here's basically what it's going to look like. Module 1 will be available remotely, and that will be the foundation. It's what you need to know. It'll include military and veteran culture, fundamentals of PTSD and brain injury, military sexual trauma, family impact, and caring for the caregiver. Module 2 will also be available remotely, and that will be the business side. How to form and run an organization, the administrative side. Module 3 will need to be in person, and that is the leadership side. How to modify your calling, how to make a good program, how to keep it safe. Tapestry Folk Dance Center in Minneapolis is interested in hosting the first training. The first one may be all in person there because the online portions may not be ready for that, but I'm very excited to be able to present the training and get it out there into the world. Every community is different. We don't envision this as a franchise model, but we rather invite people to take what we've learned and implement it in a way that works for them. It's been a little bit difficult to continue the development because I've been trying to do too much. I've been trying to run the program. I've been trying to run the organization. And I just haven't had enough energy and time. Well, in November, an amazing thing happened at the perfect time. This is a photo of Sunshine Jim. Sunshine Jim was the name Florida dancers knew for James Edward Huddock. From 1966 to 68, Jim served in the Army Signal Corps and was stationed in Europe. After the Army, he worked with local aerospace companies. Later in life, he discovered the joys of contra and English country dancing and the friendships that developed within the community. Jim expressed a wish to support organizations like Dancing Well as part of his legacy. Jim passed away, and the Trust Committee granted us the largest single donation in Dancing Well history. We are truly grateful. We will be using this money as a challenge match. Tonight, we are kicking off a fundraiser for money to go toward continued development and implementation of the leadership training and supporting new programs in other communities. Our goal is to raise $35,000 by May 1st. We already have $20,000 of that from Sunshine Gym's Trust. Please support the future by funding the leadership training. Donations can be made on our website, dancingwell.org. Tonight, I also want to announce that we have a new position at Dancing Well that is open. It'll be a part-time office administrator position. It will be located in Louisville. In the future, it's possible that this position may expand to include leadership of dances. If you or someone you know may be interested, please contact me for the job description. I am really excited about the potential to free up my time to finish the curriculum. Dancing Well, a Soldier project has been the most satisfying work of my life. I encourage you within your community to examine how you can find opportunities to be more inclusive to the benefit of all of us. Please support our work. We're saving lives. It's all about love.
That was amazing. Thank you so much. Ah, yeah. Very touching, very moving. An amazing story. We have some announcements we're going to be posting for Deborah, and we're not finished yet, so don't start dropping out. There is many of the things that she already mentioned: the weekly Dancing Well dance party online. Volunteers are needed, job opening, donation information. We're going to post that all in a post, but I'm not going to let you go into the after talk until you answer what's your favorite dance.
Oh, that's a really hard question. All right, I've come up with two. I really love Autumn in Amherst. And maybe that's partially because my mom lived in Amherst, but also I knew Philippe. I just think it's a wonderful dance, but I also love Sapphire Sea. To me, Sapphire Sea, it's beautiful in its simplicity and the tune is perfect.
Boy, that's a great answer. And wow. Yeah, both great dances. And we haven't been asking this a lot, but I will ask you because you specifically let us know, are you a tea drinker? And what's your
I'm
favorite?
very much a tea drinker. I usually take loose Assam tea and I add a little bit of Earl Grey to it and I drink it with some milk.
Sounds great. Thank you. We are the Historical Tea and Dance Society, so we appreciate that answer. Make sure you go to the Dropbox this week because there'll be a flyer there for Dancing Well that you'll want to download if you want to hand it off to somebody that you think maybe would like to get involved or could use the program. And also the chat for those that can't download the chat because you're on an iPad or something like that. It's always there. We're going to post the link for that. That's the only link you need and you need to check on and you'll get it all. Thank you to our guest, Deborah Denenfeld. We are so happy you have been on with us. We've waited a long time to get you on and we really appreciate the time and energy that you put into it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And to my team, my wonderful 5 Things Dream team, Lindsay Verbal in the background, Reed Wilson on Zoom, Larry Hansen on Facebook, along with our helpers, Kara King and Dan Vilter. I'm going to go into the sort of the end part of our show. Check out the list of web chats we have had on since March 2020. Web chats can also be found on Facebook on our main page, on the Country Dance and Song Society website, and on our YouTube channel. The web chats, yeah. Talk sessions are not publicly made available. However, you may request a link to the after talk by emailing us at historicalteandance@gmail.com. If for any reason we don't get back to you right away, nudge us. We'll send it to you. Sometimes we just get busy. And a big thank you to all the folks who've been sending in donations to keep this the show on the air. We really appreciate it. We do make use of them. We have our 5 things commemorative pin. And personally, we suggested to Deborah that she gets a Dancing Well pin. We're hoping we see that because we want to donate to that and get our own pin to wear. And let's see, what else? The After Talk link is posting right now. Coming up next month, it's a to be announced. We are working on something. I think you're really going to enjoy it, but we aren't ready to announce it yet. So we will see you next Tuesday, April 19th, and we will probably let you know sometime, in the next week or so, what's coming on that for our 5 Things show. Please join us for tea time on Thursdays at 5 p.m. Pacific. If you want to drop in and just have a social hour with some friends from our group and others, it's still going on and we're having a great time with it. For donations, Deborah, of course, says, donate to Dancing Well, the Soldier Project. And I'm sure you're going to be seeing a lot of donations coming in. We want to meet that matching fund as soon as possible. Let me just ask you, I did not ask you, is there a specific donation for this match project? Do you have a specific page or just the general, and you'll report back to us how we're doing with the matching, because we want to make sure we make that.
Oh, that's really sweet. Yes, any donation starting today until May 1st will count.
Great, great, yay. Okay. Well, we are really looking forward to going into the after talk. There are many questions and much to talk about. Our exit music is Wolf Moon Waltz. And Deborah, do you want to talk just for a minute about why this tune?
Yeah, both of the tunes. My beginning tune was by Tom Cunningham, and this tune is by Kate Sanders. And those are the 2 Dancing Well musicians. So I wanted to highlight their work. And I hope that you'll support their work. Their album is great.
Yes, it is. All right, with that, we are going to put up the donation screen, play our exit music, and see you all in 2 minutes in the after talk.